Hi, I'm Mark, this is Mark's Tech Vlogs on YouTube, and today I'm going to bring you a review of the eLinkSmart Home Wireless Camera. Now this review is a little bit different from the reviews I normally do on this channel, because typically with devices I tend to review the stuff that I own, so stuff that I've researched and looked into and decided to pick up myself. This is where this review is different, because the guys from eSmart got in touch and asked if they could send me one to review for you guys. What that means is that I've done a lot of research since to find out about the camera, and I've used it quite a lot over the last couple of weeks. And so this isn't a paid promotion, however, they have given me the camera to try out. The great thing about this, however, is it means I can try something that I wouldn't have picked up otherwise and be really honest about it, because I'm under no obligation to say nice things about it if it's not any good. So let's get going with the review. So the eSmart wireless security camera is a 355-degree HD camera. It's certainly geared towards the more budget end of the market and costs around £35. Let's start off by talking about the spec. So as I said, the camera is a 355-degree camera with a 180-degree tilt. This means that for your average room, you're going to be able to pretty much get 100% coverage of that room. It has built-in Wi-Fi and also an Ethernet port, so you can choose whether you want to connect it via a wired or wireless connection. It has some built-in sensors, so it can pick up on things like noises and baby crying, but it also can pick up on movement detection. The other thing it has built in is two-way audio. This means it can record sounds that are happening in the room, but it also means you can send sounds to the room, such as some nursery rhymes that are in the app, or you can speak through it. In terms of recording, you've got a couple of options. You can either put a micro SD card into it, or you can record via a cloud account for a small fee extra. The camera also has night vision built in with minimum IR light from the camera. In terms of spec from the camera itself, it can shoot video in 960 HD video, and it's got a 1.3 megapixel camera. So next, let's talk about the design. I think the first thing to say is it is by no means the smallest camera on the market, and it's certainly not the nicest design out there. The camera itself has a kind of rounded front, a fairly large base, and a huge antenna on the back. What is worth saying, however, is that as I've looked at various other smart cameras out there, perhaps with the exception of the Hive one, I'm not really sure any of them look particularly good. The rear of the camera has a micro USB port, which is used for powering the device, a slot for a micro SD card, and an Ethernet port, and of course that antenna. The power cable that it comes with is pretty long, and so actually, regardless of where you want to put it, you're probably going to be alright. But the advantage of it being micro USB powered is that you can pick up a super long cable if you need one. The other nice extra is that it comes with a mounting kit in case you want to mount the camera to a ceiling or a wall. There's also an option in the settings on the app to change the alignment of the camera, so if you have put the camera upside down, your video doesn't appear upside down. So how easy is it to set the camera up? The instructions that come with it tell you a few different ways you may set your camera up to start with. I went for the app and QR code version, and whilst it felt like I was constantly wondering if I was doing the right thing and I was struggling to try and find which device I actually had, I did eventually get it done. This means it isn't the easiest camera in the world to set up, but it is doable, and once it's set up, you're away. Talking about setup leads us on quite nicely to talk about the app that you use with the device. As with any smart home device from a different company, you're going to need a different app for your smartphone. The camera works with apps for Android and Apple. I'm an Apple user, so I've only really tested this out with Apple devices, so that's what I'm going to talk about. The app itself supports multiple devices. This means that if you've got a variety of these cameras dotted around your house, you can actually see them all on one screen. If you go into the individual mode for a camera, you can press play to view the camera in real time. This live camera viewing works pretty much wherever you are, whether you're at home on the same Wi-Fi connection or if you're out and about. One of the really nice things this device does is it tells you what quality it's streaming if you're on data or Wi-Fi. This means that if you need to conserve data, you can just stream it at a lower quality when you're out and about. This screen is where you do most of the operating of the camera. So for example, once the camera is loaded, you can drag around on the screen to change the angle of the camera, the direction, to pan around. You can also pinch to zoom. There's also options on this screen to do a 360-degree scan or tilt the camera up and down. From there, if you find a position that you particularly like, you can also save positions. This screen also lets you record stills or video of your camera, and these go straight onto your camera roll. The other option you've got is the ability to send audio from your phone out of the camera. This is particularly geared for those people using this camera as a bit of a baby monitor. What I will say is that the speaker quality on the camera isn't particularly good, and so what you end up with is a slightly muffled, delayed voice. Whilst we're talking about the speaker, the other features include things like being able to play nursery rhymes or stories or noises to calm your dog through the camera. There's a selection of these built into the app, and they basically buffer and stream through the camera. It didn't seem no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't actually get any of the stories or nursery rhymes to work, although I did get some calming dog noises. To be honest, this is a fairly useless feature and you're probably not going to use it anyway. The other thing worth talking about in the app is the settings menu. From a setting menu, you can set the flipping options, night vision, recording settings, time zones, and a variety of other things. It's also here that you can set the alarm, which means you can get notifications if a noise or movement is detected. One thing worth saying about these notifications is that actually the notification that comes through onto your phone isn't particularly helpful. You need to click it and go into the app to view the screenshot that goes with it. It's also worth saying that in order to get this to work, you have to alarm your camera. Now, I found that alarming the camera works best when you're on the same Wi-Fi network rather than trying to do it outside of home. This means that actually you probably need to remember to set it before you go out. Finally, it's also in this menu you can manage some storage options. This means you can format your SSD card and check up how much memory is left on it, but it also means for a small subscription fee you can purchase some cloud storage. This means if you're particularly bothered about security, you can have your video uploaded to the cloud. So I guess the other important thing to talk about with this camera is the quality. So what is the quality like? For a low-end camera, I wasn't expecting particularly good quality, and I've actually been pleasantly surprised at how well it works. It's worth saying that it's not the best quality in the world, and you're certainly not going to be shooting YouTube videos on it anytime soon. However, as a smart security camera for keeping an eye on your home, it's exactly what you need. The one side of it that really impressed me was the night vision mode, and I was really impressed by just how much you could see with that option switched on. As I've already hinted at, and as you'll hear, the audio quality on the recordings isn't particularly good. Recording some video from this camera. So as we're near the end of this video, what works well and what doesn't work quite so well about this device? Let's start with what works well. Firstly, the camera can effectively record and it really easily tracks movement. This means it does exactly what you want it to do when you pick it up to start with. Secondly, it's quite easy to operate once you get your head around the app. Thirdly, the out-of-home access is really easy to use and it works well every single time I've tried it. So let's talk about the downsides. What doesn't work quite so well? 1, as I've mentioned, the audio quality isn't particularly good. 2, the app isn't as intuitive as it could be, and there was quite often times where it just felt a little bit clunkier than it had to be. It's also worth saying that the notifications that come through when your camera is alarmed aren't as useful as they could be. Of course, these are both things that can be fixed in software updates. And then thirdly, it doesn't actually link in with any other smart home devices. This means it doesn't link into things like IFTTT. So what's my verdict on this smart home security camera? The chances are, if you're picking up a smart home security camera, you want to keep an eye on your home when you're away or keep an eye on your pet. And actually, if that's what you want to do, then this camera is exactly what you need. If you're hoping for something to act as more of a baby monitor, then I'd probably advise looking at something different. Overall, it's not the best looking device or the highest quality, but actually it does what you want it to do, and for the price, it's an absolute bargain. I hope you guys have found this video helpful. I've linked the camera I've been talking about in the description below. If you've got any questions, stick them below and I'll try and answer them. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again soon.